Hi everybody and welcome to my fly tying day. My name's Melvyn Wood and today I'm going to be tying an olive dabbler. It's a fly I use extensively for brown trout on lochs in Ireland and Scotland. The hook in the vise is a Camasan B175 in size 10. The thread I'm going to be using is Semperfli's classic wax thread in 12 knot and the colour is a medium olive, and I'm going to start this fly about a millimetre away from the eye, and I'm coming down the hook shank in touching turns to a point midway between the barb of the hook and the point, and I'm about there. Just going to snip that thread off. The tail comes in two parts. The first part is golden pheasant tippet, dyed hot orange, and I'm taking out about half a dozen fibres. I'm moistening them to keep them all together. The length of this part of the tail wants to be the length of the body and plus the eye, so right at the back of that black piece I'm going to twist my thread anti-clockwise. That throws a loop over my finger and thumb, and I'm coming down very gently, putting a couple of wraps on, and that's my tail in. Okay, another couple of wraps in, and then I'm going to put the second part of the tail. The second part of the tail is from a bronze mallard feather. Now, the further you get up the feather, the stiffer the fibres are. So I'm taking fibres from about there as a tail, and I'm snipping out probably 1/4 of an inch, 5 mils worth of tail, and I'm doubling it over and folding it over again, and then I'm going to roll it to my fingers. And I'm going to tie that in. Now, the length of this tail needs to be about the length of the hook. So I've got myself a little gauge, putting it over, and I'm pinching a loop in that one on, immediately on top of the golden pheasant tippets. Okay, that looks good. I need to wrap that back. Don't get to the point where I started. The golden tippet tail, which is about there. Now I'm going to chop off this excess. And I'll chop that off at an angle so I'll get a nice neat taper in towards the eye of the hook, and I'm coming down in touching turns again. I now need to put the rib in. The rib is Semperfli's red wire ribbing, and the size for this is 0.2. I'm tying that rib on the side. The body material that I'm using is Semperseal. It's a new synthetic fibre that Semperfli have developed. It's not as its floatability is not as good as seal's fur, but you can import seal's fur into this country now legally. So we're having to go for substitutes. But it's just, you dub it on just the same. It dubs on just as easy. So I've made myself a nice dubbing noodle. Now I'm going to wind the body on. Take off the excess. Just tie it down. The next part is the palmered hackle, and this is from a genetic cock, and its colour is medium olive. I'm just going to put two straight turns in at the head, and then I'm coming down the body in touching turns. Sorry, in open turns. I'm going to tie that hackle down with my red wire. I'm wanting about 5 turns. I'm just going to worry that wire off. And I'm going to cut that feather off. Now, the most important thing when you're tying in a body material, particularly seal's fur, is to always rag it out. And you're ragging it out into the hackle. It does nothing for the look of the hackle, but it makes the fly much more fishable. We have a bit of flash to put in now. And this material is Semper Flash, and it's pearl. We just tie that in, and we can cut these ends off. And just bind them down. And we're cutting those off about halfway into the tail. You need to lower those a tad, simply by rubbing backwards and forwards with your thumb over your tying in point. And that lowers them off nicely. Right, the wing is of bronze mallard, and we're looking at the middle part of the feather this part here for the wing, and we want to chop out 2 1 centimetre sections, lay them back to back, or lay them on top of one another like so, and then replace it on top of the dabbler, and we just touch the eye, and by doing that, that lets us know that we're in the centre of that hook. And when we're in the centre of that hook, we lay our fingers over the top of it and wrap those fibres around. When you've done that, twist your thread anti-clockwise and run it 2 turns, 2 loose turns over your wing of your bronze mallard, and pull it very slowly and then firmly, and put another couple of wraps in on top of one another. Okay, and that should give us the wing. Let's just bring that out a bit. Okay, so we need to come in with our thumb because it's not quite as round as far as I'd like it. But it is now. So we've now got a cloaked wing. And after we've done that, we need to come brush the fibres back, come back onto the wing a couple of turns, and that locks those fibres in place. What I need to do next is lift these fibres that we need to cut off, pull them out of the way, and put a couple of turns underneath them. That will lift them. Then we can really get in with our scissors, cut them off neatly. Don't do it all in one cut. Several little nips, getting right in, making sure you get right in. Couple more there. And all we need to do is neaten this head up. So we're coming in, binding down those ends, cut ends, forming a nice neat head. And then we'll be finishing. Moving the tying thread. Happy with that. All that's left to do is to varnish the head, dropping a bit of varnish onto my dubbing needle. A little more. There we have it, our olive dabbler.